Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back to the guest house. My name is Sohail, and I'm joined, as always, inshallah, by Ahmed, the provocateur, and Ismail, our in-house resident scholar. How are you guys doing today?
Good. Everything's good.
You
How are
like
you?
that? It's my blushed at the resident scholar thing. That was
I'll take it.
good.
I'll take the win.
Ismail's like, finally, the credit that I deserve.
5 years early, probably, but I'll take it.
Next top king of the world. Yeah.
All right, I'll be the cliche guy and say I can't believe that it's Ramadan already. How are you guys
Yes.
doing? Second day?
Alhamdulillah, it's been good. First time for me spending Ramadan outside of the US, so it's been pretty unique experience, and just seeing the whole city celebrating it, all together is very nice. It's a very different feeling. Alhamdulillah.
Oh, it must be amazing, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
I didn't
it's
even think about
beautiful.
that.
Yeah,
So, day two for you, right?
yeah. Day two, alhamdulillah.
Okay,
First
okay.
day
Random
was
day.
good. I had a headache in the last hour before Maghrib, but it subsided after I ate and all that. But otherwise, it's been really good, alhamdulillah, so far.
That's because you guys are addicted to coffee. That's why.
I don't know if it's that. I don't drink too
What
much.
did
I don't drink
you
as much as I used to. But
Is
yeah, it
that?
probably was because I usually do have some kind of caffeine in the morning. So
Do you guys wake up for sahur or no?
Yeah.
yes, but
Have
I
to.
keep it
Mhm.
very light. So I do dates, ajwa dates, water, and usually like a shot of espresso or something.
There it
A
is.
shot of
Yeah.
espresso.
There it is.
I
And then
mean,
he's like, no, I don't really drink coffee.
I say I don't drink as much as I used to. So I used to drink like 3 cups a day or something, but I'll usually just have the one in the morning, and that's usually it. So naturally, if I'm fasting and I don't have it by a certain time, then I'll get a
Do
headache.
you not go back to sleep after
No, I
Fajr?
do, I do. I yesterday I went to sleep since I didn't have anything to get up for. I slept till just about Dhuhr time. I woke up for Dhuhr and then I went about my day. But yeah, but I try to keep the suhoor light so I don't like feel fatigued or dehydrated. Depending on what you eat, it can
Yeah.
mess you up throughout the day.
Uh,
So I
for,
just
for
do the
me,
dates and water.
for me, it's the opposite. I can't do sahur. If I eat something, then that's it. It's
So
done.
I came over last this morning and you guys didn't open the door for the Beid Mabatata.
It
I
was
was
just
like,
you
bait.
don't
I
you
saw
don't
you
need
guys eating
suhoor.
at the table, and I was like, please.
It
You
was
don't need
just
suhoor
bait
at
today.
all.
No
You're saying
batata.
you skip suhoor altogether?
If I could, I would because if I
Okay.
eat,
Really?
yeah, yeah. If I after I wake up in the morning, if I've eaten, then I just wake up hungry.
Oh,
Um,
really? Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
because for me, my usual days, I don't really eat. I'll have like a small something
Yeah.
small before I leave, and then I won't eat anything probably until I get back in the evening. So
Mm,
for me, sahur is mostly for the kids so that they have something to eat, obviously. So that's
all
why.
right.
Yeah, I used to not eat suhoor when I was a kid, but honestly, like, uh, unfortunately, I mean, not unfortunately, but the when I first got married, the first couple of years, my wife would make oatmeal in the morning, and that would help a lot because oatmeal is like a slow burner, so actually, like, you actually feel full for most of the day afterwards until
Okay.
like maybe like Asr's time, and then like you start to feel a little hungry, but at that point, like it's not that much longer until Maghrib. But because she's pregnant this year, she's not fasting. Um, I have to like figure it out myself. So
Get
You're
up
you're
and
on your
make your
own.
own
yes,
sour.
yesterday I was like rummaging through the pantry, finding like
Cocoa Puffs.
old boxes of cereal. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
And let me tell you, it's not the same. It's not
Mm.
the And but honestly, the thing that I was thinking about this morning when I was eating by myself with the cat crying because I want to give him milk is that
What
it
was the
really
cat fasting too?
This is-
yeah, I make him. um, the thing is amazing because like when I was younger, I would always hear, like the prevailing wisdom is that or that we understand that there's a benefit in suhoor, that there's like a
Mm,
barakah in suhoor that
Right.
if we only knew type of thing. Like but I think the other piece that I thought of this morning was that if you eat suhoor every day for whatever the 29 or 30 days that we have Ramadan for, that kind of wakes your body up for tahajjud after Ramadan because you
Mm.
you get
mm.
you get hungry or like your body's like, hey, I usually get like something here, like wake up. So it kind of like is like an alarm clock. It's like kind of conditioning your body as an alarm clock for tahajjud, which I thought was a really cool I don't know if that's a reason, but it just was like a thought that I was thinking about as I was eating. I was like, because I used to pray tahajjud a lot, and then after I got married, it kind of decreased a lot. And now I was like,
Because your prayers were answered, right?
exactly.
No, subhanAllah, that's a really good point. I never really thought about it like that. That's a good point, actually.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Before we get into our topic for today, I just want to kind of touch on one thing from last time when we were speaking about role models and things like that.
By the
We
way,
discussed.
Sahel, before you start, I just wanted to say that you're my role model.
Oh, here we
I
go.
forgot to tell you that in last
Okay.
episode, but
I see. I see.
okay, sorry. Go
No
ahead.
matter you are the way you are. Yeah, so we went off about how Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, obviously is the ultimate role model, and then the Sahaba afterwards, and then we had some prophetic leaders and things like that. But also we can't forget about the role models that we have at home, like our fathers and grandfathers. I mean, these are people who came here to a foreign land, established their families, oftentimes working 2, 3 jobs to support the family. The mothers were at home taking care of their kids, making sure they were, being raised right. So really, we don't really need to look to these social media personalities as role models when we have them at our, in our own house. So I think Henny and I were discussing that, and she brought that up. It was a very good point that we didn't touch upon. But I just want to share that with you guys as well.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I
And
mean,
Very good point.
yeah.
also, this is our third episode, but so halas, it's legit now. We have a podcast, right? If you do anything 3 times, it makes it official, I think.
I guess
I guess
some
so,
unwritten
that's a rule.
rule.
It's the rules of
One of
three.
those.
The rules of three.
I,
Okay.
I heard it from one of my role models on TikTok.
Is that right?
The one who just landed in Florida a few days ago. That one.
Oh, yeah.
Who's that? Who's that?
The Tate brothers came to Florida.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah, Romania released them, and they said they're your problem now.
Oh, wow. But are they
That's what
living
I
at
thought.
the...
You didn't know that, yeah. So some people's role models just landed in the U.S.
Wow, okay. Are they staying at Trump's house?
Who knows?
I think they're building an extension.
All right, without further ado, I guess we'll get into the topic of conversation today, and we're gonna hit upon cancel culture, whether we should cancel people or not cancel people, and the reasoning behind that. And not that we're gonna hit upon somebody specific, but DJ Khaled came to my mind when we were discussing this before. So what do you guys think?
Of him specifically.
I mean, we could hit upon him specifically if you want. Also, I don't. Just for the record, I don't like the guy at all.
Same. I'm the same way.
Spoiler alert.
It makes 2 of us at least.
Yeah.
I have no strong feelings about him.
I have strong feelings. No.
All right. I think we start with Ismail then.
Yeah, it's not. Go ahead.
No. You were gonna say something, Ahmed. Kick it off.
I mean, I wasn't gonna talk about DJ Khaled specifically. I was just generally gonna talk
Speak
about
more broadly. That's fine.
cancel culture. Yeah. So I mean, personally, I generally do not agree with canceling people if that's like the word that we're using. And I know cancel is kind of like a general term, but I think there's also like distinctions that we can make with cancel culture, like canceling somebody, like not talking to them, not listening to them. I personally don't agree with that. I think people's opinions and people's thoughts are should be listened to, regardless of whether you agree with them or not.
What
The
if his
thing
thoughts are egregiously wrong,
then fight them.
or
Then fight
lack
them.
of thoughts?
Then fight those thoughts, because there will be people who will listen to them, and if there's a vacuum where they've been left alone because people have canceled them, then people who gravitate towards that thought process will reach them, and where they won't hear any alternative perspective. Whereas if you continue to engage them, people will see, oh, they're wrong because of X, Y, and Z, so I'm gonna disregard them, right? Like in the marketplace of ideas, and the stage of ideas, that's like the point, right? Like people are supposed to lob their bad ideas, and then they get shot down, right? That's like the point of what we're doing. But like that's not possible if you just say, you know what, I'm not listening to you. I'm not talking to you. Go do your own thing on your side of the internet. That's in my opinion a bad precedent to take.
But there's like I think there is a function for cancel culture that extends, and I think there's a reason, or there's a place for it, and that usually is involved with certain people's actions if they've gone to a certain extreme, or even things some people say too. But like, you know, um, we have, like, if you're looking at the Me Too movement, which, for certain people was very necessary. So you have your like Harvey Weinsteins and Bill Cosby's and all that. These are not people who should ever be given a second chance in society. They've done some very severe things. But I think one of the problems with cancel culture was that it applied that uh, same metric, or same punishment, but for different levels of, violations, if you want to call it that. So like some people who were accused of, harassing somebody on a movie set were canceled equally as Harvey Weinstein, who literally for decades raped, many women.
Yeah,
So
there's something criminal and yeah.
yeah, but even like whether it's criminal or not, it's just, if we were just saying like agreed on like ethical actions or moral actions, there is a function for it. But like you said, I think simply for having a bad idea or a bad opinion, that doesn't necessarily warrant complete cancellation. You could still, choose to not listen to somebody
Yeah.
and say that their ideas could be harmful. So there are people who have harmful ideas, but you still have to measure the degree of which somebody's idea is harmful, and how harmful is it, and has it actually led to certain violence or certain actions, versus it's just a bad idea, right?
Yeah, because I think so maybe you can go into like why specifically. I mean, I know this is just an example, but why DJ Khaled specifically is somebody that you don't like? Because in my view, it's more about his inaction, right? So why canceling somebody over inaction is something that is a good idea.
So that's a perfect segue, actually, the way you worded it. So maybe we wouldn't look at it from a perspective of canceling him per se. I think so. Here's my thought process on him specifically, right? He's in a position where he has a following, right? And obviously he has a certain background, certain culture, certain religion. And I think when you get to a point of popularity that he has gained, it's almost an obligation for you to speak up on behalf of your quote unquote people, right? And I think that he's completely missed the mark on that. He's more interested in promoting, whatever vodka drink that he promotes and things like that, as opposed to being a conduit to
I believe.
spread the news and make this issue aware, right? You have people who are non-Muslim, like Macklemore and these guys like that have made a more of a conscious effort to bring this to the forefront. And whereas this guy who has millions of followers, makes millions of dollars, has not said a single word about what's going on. So that to me, it's almost an abuse of power that you have to not speak up. So that's my
Well,
beef
so
against
there,
him specifically.
so the thing I have though is like, is it sufficient that simply because someone is famous, they're now responsible for speaking about things that are not related to what they do? So like, DJ Khaled, who, if you've ever heard him speak, he's not somebody you really want to have any kind of intellectual take on the Palestinian cause. He's
That's the
just
nicest way to call someone dumb I've ever heard.
like, I'm not saying
You
he
don't want
can't
him
be.
to.
No, but I mean, I get people. You don't have to be like a political scientist to have like a moral consciousness or any of this stuff. Like, if these are things that everybody should agree on, but the way in which you express it, there are other ways that he could potentially express his support. But the last thing I want him to do is to actually say something, because I've never seen him say anything intelligent. Like he's
Well,
somebody
well,
who pursued a
also a
career
character,
as a
right?
musician.
He's
I mean,
also
he
a
just,
character. You have to
it's
realize
whatever
that
it is, but the
built a
point is,
character. It's not. That's
it
not
might
actually
be.
who he is.
But I've even seen him do interviews where he's
Yeah, but
also
he's a
just says,
character. He's in his character. I'm just
why
saying.
would he
I agree
break
with
it?
you. I
And I
disagree
don't know
with
if he's
you.
gonna. What would he break character to speak about a moral issue? I don't know.
No,
Like
that's why I'm
that's my
agreeing with
thing.
you.
So then,
Yeah,
if he's not gonna break character and act like a normal person, then then there's no point. Like and he like even people were going after Muhammad Salah, for example, because he didn't say anything, and then he put out what looked like a hostage video to say something literally, as if he was being forced to say it. And again, I do believe people should speak out of all kinds, whether you're famous or not famous. If you
yeah.
have 50 followers on Instagram or 50 million, you should still, you know, go, post, in support of these things, or you should, you know, uh, donate to certain causes, whatever it is, whatever your form of activism is. But not everybody has to do the same thing. And
Yeah.
for somebody like DJ Khaled, like if he is not somebody who can be articulate in the way he send support, he should, people should lobby him basically to find another way, whether it's
But
financial support or any of that. But I think just because somebody who, like, if you're going to go after everybody who is remotely Palestinian and say, you didn't say anything, you didn't say anything, you didn't say anything. And again, I don't disagree. I think he should be pro-Palestinian. I think he should find a way to express it in a way that makes sense. If he can't say anything, articulate about it, he should have his agent write a statement. Like he has agents, he has a whole team of people that do stuff for him all the time. Just have one of them write a statement saying that you support Palestine in a way that sounds nice, and just say, I'll give $500,000 PCRF or anything, things like that. I do think people like that have a responsibility, but also a lot of these people went into these careers and got famous, weren't expecting to all of a sudden now be responsible for talking about social and
and they
political
shouldn't be
issues.
really. Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. So my point is, should they be expected to do that, and to what degree should they be expected to do that? Because there's an understanding that if you have a platform, you should speak, but also what made you become famous, what gave you a platform. And is, like, Muhammad Salah was like a teenager and just got really good at soccer, and all of a sudden he's on a global stage, and now everybody's like, well, what do you think on Palestine, and it's all of a sudden like, but he's like, I just wanted to play soccer and have a career in soccer.
No, listen, I get what you're saying, and I agree with you to a certain extent, right? I think regardless of how you became famous, and maybe this is unfair of me to think that, right? So number one, I don't really have any followers. That was the point of the podcast, right? So I could become famous, become a co-host on NPR with Latif
NPR.
Nasser
Wow.
and
They might
have a
not even be in
following.
NPR in a few years.
What's
Yeah, and I
that?
was about to say,
They might
not
not
if
even
Trump
be in
defunds
NPR in a
it.
few years.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna get
Well, maybe we'll get it funded, but
yeah, okay.
the point is not that how you got famous, and now just because you're famous, you have to put out a press release, right? I agree with Ismail 100%. Somebody like DJ Khaled should not be saying things publicly because the dude's a clown, all right?
Yeah.
And whether Ahmed, whether that's a character or not, I don't know. I genuinely think that's
I
just the
mean, I
way.
think I personally think anybody in the public limelight in that position are have built a persona that's not themselves. They have to.
Okay,
And that's my opinion on it.
yeah, I
That's
get
just
it.
my opinion on it. Like
I get
this.
it. But I don't necessarily think that I want him to do a press release every Friday after Jummah, right? My point is that if you have a certain power, and like Ismail said, you can do whatever you're able to do, right? He has a following. He doesn't have to put out a press release and say something about Palestine. He can repost, he can urge people to donate. He can do different things. I don't, like Ismail said, I don't want him to speak on behalf of Palestinians, on behalf of Muslims and things like that, just because he's not educated enough to do that. But I think you have an obligation, whether that's fair of me to say or not, to do something for your people, right? I think when you come to that point of your career, you should say something, you should do something. And
Yeah,
I
but
don't think,
I
go
guess
ahead.
my question off of that though is like what and I don't want to be like cynical about this, but like
Yeah,
what
you
would
do.
him saying something what would him saying something do? Like he's not
No,
changing
that
anybody's mind. It's basically his own people saying, "Why are you not speaking up for us?"
But
And
Ahmed,
like
you don't know that. If he puts something on his feed
what
of that people follow that have no idea what's going on in the rest of the world, it'll maybe open up their eyes, right?
on an individual level, yes, you can say, oh, what's his post going to do? But the idea isn't that you're just going after him and telling him and pressuring him to say something. But it's if it's a movement, if you have a like an organized movement behind whatever cause, and you get enough celebrities and enough politicians and enough people behind something, you could push for certain ideas like boycotting and
No, I'm not disagreeing
divestment
with
and
you
all
about
this.
that.
So I think the idea with this is he's just one of many people that are being pressured to speak out. He's
But
obviously not the only person that
But what if he
pro-Palestinian
doesn't
activists.
feel comfortable doing like, I guess my point is that, like, everyone does their thing in a different way. Like, what if he's
Right.
giving money and you don't know? Like, not everybody has to be vocal about the way that they do things. Like, he could be giving money and you have no idea. He could be giving billions of dollars and you would have no idea, but we're saying, "Oh, why didn't you tweet something?" And, like, that's a shame on him. But again,
Yeah, but that could be
that's a
applied to
huge
everybody. I
that's a
mean, this is
right, and that's my
but that's
point.
a
I was just gonna say, when you go down the list, right, of celeb no, I'm not talking about just Palestine now, just generally.
yeah, in
If you go on
general.
the list, the I don't wanna say the problem, but the issue with cancel culture, one of the biggest issues with cancel culture is if you do not fit the criteria for these lists of actions that you have to do in each and every action, then you are canceled. That's the problem. So we're talking about DJ Khaled for Palestine, but then next week it's gonna be about something else, and the week after that it's gonna be about something else, and the week after that will be about something else. And if he doesn't say for each and every one of them, he is now canceled, right? Because he did not follow the progressive mindset. That's realistically the cancel culture is has been formed out of the progressive
Yeah,
movement.
liberal
Liberal, yeah,
circles.
I should say liberal. I shouldn't say progressive. You're right. Liberal movement, right? So
Yeah.
if you don't fit the criteria for every single liberal movement that's happening in America, and you don't speak out for every single liberal movement, you are now canceled. That's
Yeah.
like the idea. So I personally don't agree with that. I don't think that they should have to abide by the lists that they are given and say, speak out for this now, speak out for this now.
But I don't think that's how it's done. So like I'll give you an example.
Not how it's done, but
I know,
that.
but I'm saying like if here's an example, like DJ
Yeah,
Khaled is being pressured because he's Palestinian. On the same on the same point, Leonardo DiCaprio is being constantly being called a hypocrite because he's huge on climate change activism, but he still flies private jets. No one is pressuring DiCaprio to talk about Palestine, and no one is pressuring DJ Khaled to talk about climate change, right? It's usually the celebrities are being um pressured by people who, from their perspective, expect that celebrity to have a certain stance based on things that they say and do. So
you can say that, but like
when
look at what happened LeBron with LeBron.
right,
He spoke
but
out
he
for BLM, and then he didn't
yeah
speak out for the Uyghurs, and
right
he
because you put these are similar issues. These are still humanitarian issues of a certain
I mean,
minority being
but both of
oppressed.
those issues are humanitarian issues. Climate change is also a
No,
humanitarian
no,
issue.
in the sense that it's in the same category of like an oppressed minority. So he put himself in a position
If you're
now.
not rich, you're oppressed.
I
That's
mean, sure, but
that's real. I mean, look what's happening with the U.S. government currently. I mean, they're basically cancel culturing the left. That's what they're
yeah,
doing.
yeah.
They're saying, we don't care about what the left has to say. We don't care about what anybody other than a conservative viewpoint has to say. We're doing what we want because we believe this is the correct way to do it. I mean, that's essentially what's happening.
Yeah.
They've taken it to an extreme level of it, but that's essentially what's happening. And but that's a byproduct of people being canceled because cancel culture also canceled Joe Rogan. They also canceled basically everyone in Trump's cabinet currently. That's why they went to the ultra right because they were canceled from the left. All these guys
Mhm.
were from the left. Like
Yeah,
that's my
Russell
point. Like
Brand. Remember Russell Brand? That was a
right,
weird one.
all these guys literally
That's
were part of the left and they got canceled for whatever reason because they didn't fit the criteria that you had to fit.
so
And then
where's
they
the line then?
became, okay, my home is now the right because at least they don't judge me for not being part of every single thing that you want me to be a part of. That's the problem is that you ostracize people. That's the issue.
But then where's the line? Where's the line between a celebrity should say
The
something
line, the
and the
line, the line,
celebrity
the
doesn't
line
need
is
to be
if
involved in
you,
this?
yeah, if the line is if you don't like what they do, don't buy their stuff. I don't believe boycotting is the same as canceling. Boycotting is
No, but
different.
boycotting is essentially the
It's
same
not
thing as
because
canceling.
you're still engaging with somebody. You can still
How are you
engage somebody
engaging if you're boycotting though?
you can still engage with them in like conversation.
I mean,
Like you don't have to buy their stuff. Like
but
you can
boycotting usually happens when conversation fails. That's the point. Like this is why people who are in favor of BDS, for example, they're not
Well, there's different
they're
levels to
not
this. We're kind of converging a lot of things.
no, no,
Like
but this, I
BTS
mean, it's the same idea. Like if we look at BDS, it's not because, we're trying to bring, Zionists to the table. It's because most people who support BDS believe that Zionism is something that it has no place in society. So you
yeah,
are boycotting to force the collapse of Zionist entities. So it's the same
yeah,
thing why boycott in South Africa brought about the collapse of apartheid South Africa. It wasn't a negotiating chip to be like, all right, let's see how we could split
that is
powers.
a negotiating chip.
I mean, it was a negotiating in the
It's
sense
separate.
of eventually taking control of the
Okay,
situation.
but let me.
Yeah,
I
yeah. Go
think
ahead.
and I just want to clarify, just because there are like obviously different levels to this. Like it's not
Yeah,
just like obviously there's one to one, there's one to many, there's many to many, there's like country to country. Like there's a lot of like different levels that we could go through.
mhm.
But like the way that I have thought about it, and the way that I've kind of come to my understanding of this, or at least my viewpoint of this, is kind of similar to what I believe um, happened during the time of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, because
So,
when he was essentially when he was kicked out of Mecca, when he made hijrah to Medina, what was the first thing he did? He made a market, which is basically boycotting anybody else other than him, right? Other than the Muslims, right? That
mhm.
doesn't mean that he didn't talk to anybody else. He just boycotted them financially because they were able to create their own financial power while also still engaging with the outside groups. He never like ostracized anybody. He never closed the door on anybody. So that's kind of the way I kind of like tried to think about it, is that it's not close the door on every single situation. It's close the door where you give them wealth and power, because let's be honest, money is power in this world. So if you close the door on money, but still engage with them, I think that's good, because you still need to engage with people and show why they're wrong. That's the thing. Like you still need to, like we haven't talked about things in so long that like now Nazi like paraphernalia and like conversation is happening, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
because it's been tamped down so long about like why that's a bad thing. That's a horrible thing. Like
Right.
regardless of what's happening currently, you can't say that was a good thing. End of discussion, I think. So that's the way I think about it. I could be wrong, but that's kind of the way I think about it.
So then why is it then? Because this is also something I'm curious about. And what is it that society is lacking that makes them uh have one extremity or the other rather than being able to hold nuanced quote? What's preventing most of society to have a nuanced conversations and not just automatically get rid of people simply because you disagree with their opinion?
So good question. Do you have a thought to that? I mean, I need a second. That I didn't think of.
I
I didn't
mean,
have that question in mind.
my I would need to like formulate it, but my immediate thought is again, in our Islamic tradition, we have tradition of discussion and debate and these kinds of things. That and we also have a very strong concept in Islam, is that what they say in Arabic, ad-dinu wasat, right? Is that our religion is in moderation. So we don't believe in taking anything to one extreme or another. Um, even let's just, now that we're fasting, we could use this as an example. In Islam, even fasting, you can't do all the time if you're so dedicated to it. There are certain days where you're not allowed to fast. There are certain, you're supposed to kind of take it easy
Exactly,
and pace
recommended,
yourself.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. But still, at the end of the day, everything is in moderation. From the way we eat to the way we speak with people to the way we engage in society to the way we do business. Um, so
Yeah.
this is something that I feel like we have the temperament for. Whereas I feel like if you don't have that as a central idea in your society and you are very convinced that your way is the only right way, um, then yeah, you end up having these situations where people can't fathom the idea of making room for other people in society.
Yeah, I completely agree 100%. And actually, this line of thinking wasn't scripted by us ahead of time, but the way we connected it to Islam was beautifully done. I think, again, everything is in moderation, right? Kind of going back to what we discussed last week as well, between too much to the masculine side, too much to the feminine side. It's right down the middle, right? Islam always
Mhm.
has a path right down the middle in moderation. So when Ahmed said that, we're canceling the left, or the Republicans have canceled the left, that again, it's extreme, right? Obviously, that's not something that should be done. My premise with specifically to DJ Khaled and just other people like that, it's not necessarily to just, bankrupt them or whatever the case may be by not buying their albums and not supporting them and things like that. I think he has a certain responsibility. I think by not buying his album, by canceling him, it brings him to the table to kind of be to realize like, oh, you know what, maybe I should say or do something. I think is that not democracy at its best and capitalism, right? You use your power, whatever power that you have, to convince the opposite side of what should be done and what's right and what's wrong. Is that not the case, Ahmed?
I don't think democracy. I don't think capitalism cares about like human issues. To be honest, I think
It's
it's
not
just
so much human issues. It's you're trying to quote unquote win for your side. You're trying to make a point.
I know, but the thing is, I feel like I still go back to we don't know each person's individual circumstances. Okay, let me give you another example, and like maybe this is going to cause more like conversation than resolution.
Of
But Michael
course, you're the
Jordan,
provocateur, so that's
but but,
perfect.
but Michael
I'll
Jordan,
fix it up with my scholarship.
yeah.
Wait, so what's my role here? I'm just a mediator?
But my example is Michael Jordan. He grew up in the era of basically I don't know what to call it, uh, where there was a lot of like black turmoil going on in America, and he didn't say one word about the African American community. He didn't
Okay,
say anything. He never said anything, but he was seen as a beacon still. Why? Because he was excellent. You
agreed.
can still do things without saying something, right? And like to Ismail's point earlier, I don't know if like again, not to like diminish him. He's a rapper. He's a DJ. He's not like he's a successful one.
But it's not
So,
a matter of what he is. It's a matter of the status
but,
that he's
but my
achieved.
point, Mo, but my point is that the fact that he's there is already kind of a symbol of Palestine, right? He
See,
doesn't have to say something.
now you're gonna get into a different thing, right?
I,
That's
I disagree with that point though. This is also a
That's the thing. Like,
this so-called symbol is also often used to justify sentiment from the other side. So when we say like it's the common one that we always hear, America can't be racist. We elected a black president, right? It's the same idea. Like America is not totally pro-Zionist and anti-Palestinian. Look, we one of the
well,
biggest DJs in America is a Palestinian. You know,
well, I'm
this
saying
is the
I'm
kind.
saying symbol in terms of like for like us, not a symbol for them.
Well, why is
That's
it? I
different.
mean, I don't know. I don't think that necessarily
But then why
matters.
are we
Like
asking
we
him to
don't.
talk then? So
I
we're
mean,
degrading him in one hand, and then the next hand we're saying, "Come on, talk more." Like to me, that doesn't make sense. How can you ask somebody to do that? Like that makes no sense to me.
he just needs to
Like
do it,
how
Ahmed.
that doesn't make sense. How can you say, "Oh, you stink," but please talk more? Like that.
Well,
Come on, you gotta be
this
nuanced
was
with it. Like you can't just be
yeah.
like black and white.
Well, I
Like
mean, for me, and I'm generally somebody who over the years I've come to the point where I don't care whatsoever what a celebrity has to say, whether it's in
yeah,
favor
I
or
agree.
against. I appreciate it, and I think it's good when people like Malcolm Moore and others speak out and they do these things. It is good and it has a positive impact. But at the end of the day, I don't really care. What I care about is what the people of impact do and say. So if I'm more concerned, for me personally, I'm more concerned about what the general public does about Palestine more than what
Yeah,
a
I
celebrity
agree.
does about Palestine. I'm more concerned about what a politician who's involved in the region does about Palestine than what a celebrity does about Palestine. So I'm more interested in seeing politicians, leadership in Egypt or in Turkey or in Jordan, or how they behave towards this, and are they full of it or not? Are they actually doing something? That's what I like to look at. I don't really care if a celebrity is pro-Palestinian or not pro-Palestinian, because yes, if they are pro-Palestinian and whatever, you could take this and apply it to any cause, but since we're talking about Palestine, they can do something good for Palestine, and yes, they should be commended for it, and it's good, and we should take that as a win. And yes, they could potentially help the cause, but if every celebrity in America speaks out for Palestine, but the general public does absolutely nothing, then it doesn't really matter. But if the opposite happens, if the general public is very pro-Palestinian and they actually take action on Palestine, and not a single rich celebrity does anything, it doesn't matter. If the public does something, that's more impactful, and that's why, for example, boycott, for example, it's been working, and it's been working for years, even before this recent war. It's been working on
Yeah, the Starbucks
various
CEO
levels.
actually mentioned it. Do you hear?
He finally mentioned it, and
Yeah.
McDonald's had already mentioned it before, and all this
He
stuff.
said, please, we haven't paid anything. Please come
Yeah,
back.
he's like, we don't support armies. It's like you don't have to support the army. You could support Israeli society in very different ways. But my point is that these kinds of things work not because some celebrity said so. It's because the general public decided to boycott all these institutions and companies and businesses and things like that. So to me, that's why I think matters more. So yes, should somebody like DJ Khaled probably do something? Maybe, because he's Palestinian. But at the end of the day, the amount of social media posts that I saw going after him, it was such a waste of whoever creates these posts. It's a waste of your time to go and create post after post after post going
Wait,
after
so
him.
you said I wasted all my time?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what you were doing, but like,
listen, Ismail,
you're supposed to be reading Quran in Ramadan, not making reels.
I don't disagree with you at all. And it's almost, I think it's 2 against 1 here at this point. I don't disagree with you at all. It comes to a chicken or an egg, right? So what my point was that with his, and again, we keep on harping about DJ Khaled. So, but if we're going to use him as an
example, he's not.
It's a good example,
right?
just,
Right. If we're going to use him
you
as
can
an
extrapolate this
example,
to any person, yeah.
right? If we're going to use him as an example, again, I don't want him to be the advocate, right? What I'm saying is that he has a certain power. He has millions and millions of followers. If he even posted 1 or 2 things to bringing attention to the plight of the Palestinians and to the Muslims and to the Sudanese, to the Uyghurs. I mean, I guess I'm getting out of the weeds on that one because he's his connection to the Palestinians because he's Palestinian.
Right.
My point is that would establish in the public sphere what's going on around the world, and that in turn would spread knowledge, and then maybe the public at large would make an effort or would investigate into this further and kind of try to gain more insight as to what's going on. That's my point. And I think, again, I guess I'm in disagreement with you guys, specifically Ahmed, is that I do think he has an obligation to do or say something. I don't want him to put out a press.
But would the public do something about it?
Ahmed, you never know. You don't know.
I don't know. To me, the age of celebrities meaning anything is dead.
Yeah, that's another.
We're not in that age anymore. Celebrities mean nothing nowadays.
So now you're saying I'm old.
You're not a celebrity. You're an influencer.
Oh, okay. All right.
The age of celebrity is dead. Leonardo DiCaprio coming outside and saying, "Oh, take care of the animals," and dead. Greta Thunberg has more clout than he does. Like Taylor Swift.
But that's exactly my point, though, because she actually does something. Like
that's
she's her whole persona.
Going out and saying vote for this person means nothing. Right. Like the people in the trenches matter. So that further goes to my point. Like these people don't really like to get them out of their comfort zone and for them to do something that really has no. Again, I understand the general like push towards a like common goal is good, but like some people don't want to do that. Like I don't know. Like it to me that doesn't make sense to force people into like you're basically forcing people to do something.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Like even if you do manage, even if you eventually manage to get him to put out a statement, it's just because of the pressure.
Exactly,
like,
and then he's at
that point, no one's buying
lose situation. Yeah, it's a lose. Oh, he just did it because we pushed him to.
Like I don't know. I don't know what got Macklemore.
No, I'm not going to say that he did it because we pushed him to. I'm going to say all my posts worked.
Oh man. I don't know what got like Macklemore into Palestinian activism. I haven't looked into it.
It was just videos.
Right. So then
he just saw videos of kids dying and he
right. So then he
so you guys don't think that made a difference?
But he's also he has an advantage where he has by which is a smart thing that he's done for many years, is that he was not tied to a label. Like he produces his
Yeah.
own music, puts out his own music. He is able to do whatever he wants, and no one can tell him no. And either you buy his stuff or you don't, and people buy his stuff. So, he put himself in a situation where he's never bound to anybody. And there's people like that. There's other celebrities who are like that too. I think Dave Chappelle, to a certain extent, tries to do that, and things like that, where they don't try to be bound by any, what was the joke that he said? He said, this is why I never got on a sneaker deal, so they don't take my shoes away, because they took, they took,
Yeah.
Nike
Kanye
pulled
shoes.
the, yeah, he's like, they never take
Adidas,
my shoes
yeah.
away. So like, same idea.
I mean, I think like I think cancel culture. Like I know we're talking about like celebrities, but I'd be interested to hear both of your takes on like public figures and like canceling public figures specifically.
like
I think
politicians or
yeah, politicians specifically.
right.
Like
But that's why I'm saying this is why
what are your takes on like actual movers and shakers and not like entertainment people? Like
I
that's something that I think it would be interesting to hear.
From my
so
perspective, it's
yeah.
the same thing. I mean, if you're a public figure in that sense, whether it's political or not, I think you have more of an obligation to speak out, to speak on behalf of your constituents.
No, I'm
That's
saying
for me, that's
I'm
black and
not
white.
saying in terms of inaction. I'm talking about their actions. Like more about okay,
So like
whatever. Let's
they
say
should
George
be
Bush is going to talk in like Princeton. Would you go and hear him, or would you say no? We're boycotting or we're canceling him, and we're not going to go listen to what he has to say.
Who
no.
is
So
it? I didn't catch the name.
George
George
Bush. Let's
Bush.
just say George Bush as an example, just because of what he's done in Iraq and things like that. Like what should we as I don't say we as a community individually, and I guess if you want to talk about the community as well, what is your take on that? Because I
Well,
think
this
that's
was
what's important. Like I think that
this
conversation is more important than what a DJ is doing.
right. So this is kind of what I was saying at the very beginning, which is like this is why your action matters, right? So like let's just take Bush for example. He had 8 years for everybody to hear out everything he had to say. He put out everything that he wanted to do. He as president, he was he was governor, right? Before that, governor of Texas.
Yeah.
Or he's governor of Texas before that. He's had plenty of opportunity. I don't need to go to Princeton to hear him out on another idea. His ideas have been put out in plain sight for decades, right? So, and not only that, even if he did it, he's still there's like I said, it's kind of like what I was saying with the Me Too movement. There are degrees. You are Harvey Weinstein, or are you just some random celebrity who harassed somebody on a movie set? Those are very different things. They're both horrible things, but the punishment should not be the same. And likewise, if you're George Bush and upended the global system after 9/11 essentially, and launched two of the longest wars in American history and killed literally millions of people, then that's not the same as saying, Jimmy Carter botched the hostage crisis, right? So these are very different things. Now, can they be evaluated on different levels? I'm not somebody who thinks Jimmy Carter is an angel or anything. I have no faith in any U.S. president, but
Except for Trump.
yeah, he's doing a great job. I love how he gave the business to Zelensky. No, I'm just kidding. But but so somebody like him, you would evaluate. Okay, look, he's had 8 years. He did all this horrible things. No, he doesn't deserve a platform. He should be in The Hague or wherever, some prison. So I think, and when it comes to public figures, they should be evaluated very very heavily in the areas that they are specializing in. So if you're a politician, you should be evaluated by your policy and by things that you say, but more so by your policy. If you're a religious figure, you should be evaluated by your actions, because again, as Muslims, you're being a religious figure. It's a whole package. It's not just what I say and I'm just a lecturer and then I go out to the clubs at night. But as long as I give good religious advice, it's fine. No, being a religious figure is a whole thing. Yeah, your whole personality has to embody that. So you have to be judged by that. If you're an activist, you have to be judged by that standard. So like Leonardo DiCaprio, who is also an actor, but let's just say in his case, he claims or he portrays himself as a climate change activist, but he flies private. That's something you would scrutinize him for. So based on
Have you ever flown private before though?
huh?
You want to scrutinize him if you flew private before.
Yeah, but then I wouldn't
I'm joking.
advocate. I definitely wouldn't advocate for climate change. That's for sure. But So my point is, I think and that's kind of my point before, is that I'm more concerned about
Yeah.
what the impact players are doing in whatever field. So in
So what do
Palestinian
you what do
cause,
you, what do you think about it?
what are they doing? Like, what are people who are actually impactful, who can be impactful in a very direct sense? What are they doing? That's what I'm concerned about.
Yeah.
Right. So the example was that if George Bush was giving a speech or a lecture
Yeah, I
in
mean, that's just an
Princeton.
example. Like, it doesn't have
Right,
to be
right.
George
Yeah.
Bush.
No, no,
Yeah,
I get it. I'm just
anybody else.
kind of feeding off of that is that if he were in Princeton giving a lecture, would I go and attend the lecture? Um, yes and no, because listen, I get what you're saying, Ismail, and I agree with you, but also living in this country, you're afforded certain freedoms that, truth be told, we're not afforded in the countries that we are from, right? So one of those freedoms is freedom of speech. So if he's there advocating whatever he's advocating for, I have the right to go and maybe protest or go and try to get in touch with his people to share my thoughts on whatever he's discussing and why I think that, right? That's a freedom that we have, that we're given. So in that sense, yeah, I think I would go. I wouldn't go necessarily to support him. I would go to
Right.
protest him and kind of try to convey why
Yeah,
he,
I agree with that.
right.
But I was going with Ahmed's example of just, do we just go and attend and listen to his ideas, which I would strongly disagree with. If you're going to protest, you don't care about his ideas. You already know what he's done, and you're just
Right.
trying to shout him out. I don't know that I would necessarily discuss with his supporters or anything. Like, you can always do that on different avenues. You don't have to or different forums. You don't have to be where Bush is
Yeah.
speaking
Yeah.
to do
Agreed.
that. If
Agreed.
you know where his supporters are, they're all over the country. You go find forums where they are and speak to them there. But yeah, protesting, that's a caveat, obviously. But if you were
Right.
just
So
saying,
then
should we
in
go and
that
listen?
sense, if we're taking away the protest angle, then no, then I wouldn't go support him. But that
Right.
that kind of goes back to the same thing, right? That's our premise for today of the cancel culture. I,
Right.
I wouldn't go and support him.
Right.
I mean, this goes for some reason. This conversation uh, kind of dredged up a statement I heard a few months ago, and it was that Americans have freedom of opinion, but not freedom of choice, which is really interesting because that's what kind of what we're talking about. We
Right.
have the ability to like express ourselves, but it doesn't mean anything, which is kind of the crazy thing. And I think that kind of speaks to cancel culture is that it literally does nothing, means nothing, and like it's like an outlet for our frustrations about what's really going on.
Wow, that's
That's
And
depressing.
well, even I mean, to your point,
I mean,
Ahmed, this is true because even I mean, look at even like the again, going back to Palestine, look at how many Palestinian or pro-Palestinian people were fired or let go
yeah.
or chased by people online and things like that because they said something about Palestine, and Zionists here went all out in terms of chasing people, and there's a
Not just
very
all
famous
out chasing, they went and literally fought there too.
yeah, I
It's
mean, and not yeah, exactly, and that's but I'm saying like in terms of like Palestinian activists in the U.S., they didn't find peace because they expressed their opinion freely and were able, like, it's like Ahmed said, you don't have a choice. You have the freedom of opinion, but not freedom of choice. You say something, somebody's gonna go after you. They're gonna cost you your job. And there's a whole website called Canary Mission, which is dedicated to basically trying to blacklist pro-Palestinian, mainly academics, but just pro-Palestinian academics and activists and anybody else. And whenever they go for a job, if they're being searched by their potential employer, their name will come up on Canary Mission. It'll just say all this nasty stuff about them, that they're anti-Semitic and said this and said that. This is like a very well known. I don't know if you've come across it, but it's been around for many years. So that's their goal. So yes, freedom of opinion, like Ahmed said, but like there is consequences for things that you do, and one of the clearest examples of this was how the Zionist movement has been going after people. We just heard about two students who got expelled from Columbia for their for something that they had done on campus as well in terms of protesting for Palestine. So, and this was the first case of students getting expelled. Before that, when the
you talking
encampments
about
were,
the graduate students?
I think they were undergrad students, weren't they?
Oh, okay. 'Cause I saw a report yesterday also about three graduate students who got kicked out, and one of them was actually full ride,
Right.
um, and she got kicked out,
Yeah,
and
exactly. And then
yeah.
in the UK too, there was a student who was a foreigner who had her visa revoked. I think she eventually had that overturned, and she was able to win her case. But and before that, when the encampments were happening, They set out police to beat everybody up, and all the encampments. This was like the common theme. And Zionists showed up and tried attacking, the pro-Palestinian encampment. So, um, to that point, yeah, like it's you could kind of think and say whatever you want, but I do think that the ability to actually express yourself without consequence is becoming more and more restrictive, and not just under
Well, it
Republican.
depends on what we're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, but
I don't think we ever had the full freedom of choice without repercussions, right? I mean, if you go back to Vietnam War and all that stuff,
yeah.
the backlash was always there. But from a I'm to make a crude example, from a marketing standpoint, no publicity is bad publicity, as they say, right? But
Mhm.
with all the Zionist backlash against the pro-Palestinian people, don't you think that that's brought to the forefront of what actually is going on and changed a lot of people's on the right's opinion about what's going on? Like, for example, look at, what's his name, Carlson Tucker and all these guys. They're not necessarily pro-Palestinian by any means, but it comes to the point where, well, why are we funding what's going on over there? It lends back to the America First thing. Like, why are we spending billions and billions of dollars sending money over there that has no benefit to us inherently, right? So I agree to an extent that, yeah, there's going to be repercussions, but I also think it makes a difference, however little it is. It does make a difference of some sort. It's not all in vain.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean,
But I
I
was just
think,
speaking more to the cancel culture of that,
yeah.
like that side, right? There's like, yeah, this is all true, but I'm saying like this is where the cancel culture, even like when you talk about like to express yourself, there's that the Zionists have their own version of cancel culture, and the liberals have their own version of cancel culture, and everybody has. So nobody's actually free from somebody else's like rage and scrutiny. Um,
Agreed.
you
And
know,
that
and
goes to my
that
point. Like, that's why it doesn't make sense really to cancel people. And
Wow.
that's
Okay.
Joe.
So full circle, basically.
I like I said in the beginning, I still think it has a function in really extreme cases. Like I said, like I don't think somebody like a Harvey Weinstein or a George Bush or
Well,
these
that's
kinds of
different
people
because
have, but I'm saying these are people who
those
like,
are criminal acts. Like, those, I'm not
but,
talking about stuff like that. He doesn't deserve to be canceled. He deserves to be thrown in jail and rot.
right,
That's
yeah,
different. Like, I'm talking about somebody who doesn't have the same opinions
that's true. I
as you.
agree with that,
Like,
but
no, that's a
that's
criminal. That he's a criminal. He's a felon. He's a
yeah,
rapist. Like, he should
that's
go to
true.
jail or whatever. He should go to
You know,
jail.
yeah,
Like, that's different. Like, Bush was also an extreme example because he obviously committed one of the worst wars in probably human history.
right.
Um, but yeah, like those two maybe are extreme examples. But I was talking more about like ideas. In the battlefield
Yeah,
of
ideas wise,
ideas,
yeah.
the battlefield of ideas, I don't believe people should be canceled. Like, it's
There is no extreme where people should be canceled for bad ideas too, or no?
Like,
I
for
mean,
example, let me just throw out an example right now. So with Ahmed's friend Elon Musk,
okay,
with
I won't take any disparaging remarks about Elon.
You watch your tone.
yeah,
He's misunderstood,
he's
and
misunderstood, of
the woke
course.
left are just a zombie horde.
Of course, and so is Trump. Trump is misunderstood as well, right?
Some
So
may
Ah,
say,
man.
some may not. I don't know.
should he be canceled for his hand gestures and stuff like that?
No, I don't think so. I don't think he
You
should be
don't think he should be
canceled.
canceled?
I think his product should be boycotted.
Okay.
I agree with
Like
that.
like he should
Isn't that a form of cancellation though?
no.
Because like, so if we're
Came
saying
before
nobody
cancel.
buy
No, no,
DJ
no.
Khaled's album,
But Ahmed, that goes back.
Boycotting came before cancel culture. You can't say
I know
boycotting
that,
is under
but
cancel
Ahmed, the
culture.
whole idea it's just it's just semantics at this point. What we're
it's the
talking
same
about,
thing.
it's
No,
what
because
are
I'm
you
saying
how are you engaging with somebody when you're boycotting their product, other
yes,
than the actual boycott itself? That's the only engagement you're doing.
but I'm talking
But
when I so that's what I'm trying to that's what I'm trying to like differentiate. When I say cancel, I'm talking about like does that mean that you should not talk about anything Nazi related? Like that like now it's not because now not only going from Elon, right, is now Kanye. Now it's members of CPAC. Now it's like people on the street. Like now it's like coming everywhere. So like, oh, we canceled Elon, great. Or we like are stopping. We're not talking about Elon, great. But th- like everyone, it's like pervasive. Like it's a pervasive thing, and if you don't talk about it, if you don't like get to the root of
I
the
mean,
issues, then like
has the Nazi discussion not been discussed enough since the end of World War II till today that people don't know?
obviously not.
I mean, it's literally
Obviously not. Or people would. Then we have to talk about like superiority issues, like people's or maybe inferiority complex or superiority complex, because people have obviously issues. So
sure.
if people are using the Nazi salute and saying like this is fine, this is not like a big issue, that's there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
Like you have to say there's something wrong with that. Like we can't just like turn a blind eye and say no, that's wrong. No, nobody sane will do that. But like
So
there's
he wasn't throwing his heart to everybody.
No, we know he's doing a Nazi salute. Like this is kind of
Yeah.
obvious, but I think like, to Ahmed's point is like, is that, well, that's kind of my question. Is that the line or is it not the line? Like, what do you do with that? What do you do with that information? I'd send you a video.
Personally, I don't think you should be on on any of these guys' social medias platforms.
Yeah.
I think that you shouldn't be on X. You shouldn't be buying Teslas. You shouldn't be using Starlink. You shouldn't be doing anything with SpaceX. I would say that, but that doesn't mean I wouldn't engage with him. Doesn't mean I wouldn't like talk to him if I had the chance to.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like if he was somebody somewhere, I would go and I would confront him about it.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's what I'm talking. Like I'm talking about engaging people with, like in like conversation. I'm not talking about like yes, boycott them. Like I'm not talking about that. That piece of it is everyone's individual right to do, and I would say yes, do that. Because really, realistically, these people only understand money. That's the sad thing about it.
Yeah.
Like when we're talking about like that level of people, they only care about the dollar. And if you're going to hurt their dollar value, then maybe they start to change. And then they will be open and receptive to a conversation. But other than that, like these people, he's also like a troll. Like he's doing this, they're doing this stuff to like rile up. That's the other thing. Like what's bait and what's not bait, right? Like a lot of this stuff is also bait. Like it's for people to like get riled up and like get angry.
Yeah, and then they do something more nefarious behind the scenes.
While he steals billions of dollars from your taxes.
Exactly.
Like
that's why also.
But like, he also just cut everyone's job, and he just like
exactly.
is probably stealing money out of the Fort Knox, and it's like
this is why I got annoyed the other day too when everybody's going crazy about the AI video that Trump shared about Gaza. I'm just like, and literally somebody was telling me, I was like, who cares? And they're like, what do you mean who cares? I was like, who cares? You could go to ChatGPT or whatever whatever thing, and you just prompt it to make an AI video of something. Yeah. And the only reason why this became viral is because Trump actually shared it. He didn't make it. He just shared it. I feel just some troll made it online, and then he just shared it, and everybody's losing their minds over it. Like, who cares? I'm gonna prompt ChatGPT to make the US look like Gaza, and then I'm just gonna share it and then hope Joe Biden picks it up. Like,
Joe Biden, that's a throwback.
So like,
no, but
this is
that's a great point.
Anyway, I digress. This is a different point.
That's a really good point, because I think that like encapsulates the problem, or that the whole issue is that he's throwing meat to people to scream about while they literally do other things. If they're above the fray, they're above the fray, looking at the dumb conversations that are happening, with the normal people. Like, that's literally what's happening. Like these conversations, like the argument and the things about that Gaza video, literally means nothing. He's doing it to be a troll. When he said, "I'm the king, all hail the king," that was literally to be a troll. Like all this stuff is literally to get people riled up so they don't pay attention to what he's actually doing. Yeah. Like, and this is the MO for every I don't want to, you can call him authoritarian, whatever you want to call him.
Autocrat.
Yeah, this is an MO for every kind of person who just wants to steal money from you. Like this is literally what they do. Look over here while I do things over here. Like what's actually going on? Like why they now we're kind of devolving, but why did they like talk about the Epstein files again? And it was literally just the same thing that's already been out in the public. Like they literally manufacture a problem and then like bring a solution to it and then say, oh, the deep state got us again. Like it's like crazy. I don't know. Like we're devolving away from cancel culture now, but like this is like, it's important to talk about. Like we just need to be above the fray. Like these things are not that important to talk about. Like that we don't need to be talking about the Gaza video. Like it's clearly a deceptive move to get people talking about something that doesn't matter.
I think we should change our podcast name to the Nuanced Guest House. Because no, nothing that we're going to be discussing is ever going to be black and white. There's always going to be different avenues and perspectives and things like that. And I think that's what it comes back to, right? Everybody's going to be
Yeah,
having their own opinion. Everybody has their own thoughts and ideas and things like that. Not, sometimes we're going to agree, sometimes we're going to disagree. But not everything is black and white. I just want to bring it back to, from an Islamic perspective, everything is about moderation, right? So as long as we don't go to either extremes, I think we'll be fine. But also, I just want to hit on one more point that I think Ismail had mentioned in terms of like Dave Chappelle and Macklemore having their own labels or whatnot. It reminded me of a point that Sami Hamdi made in one of his talks was from a Muslim perspective, I think we need to have more people in different industries, not everybody always just becoming a doctor or engineer or a lawyer, right? So I think if we have more people in media and things like that, if when the next issue like this arises, they're not going to be worried about, well, what are the Zionists going to do to me, or my livelihood is going to be in jeopardy. I think we need to have more people doing different things. Not everybody should just be a doctor, an engineer, and a lawyer. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah,
I mean, no one on this call is a doctor, engineer, or lawyer. Oh, well, you're an engineer.
Well, I've not done
Yeah,
engineer. I don't think that even counts technically. So yeah,
I mean,
I mean,
at least by education, you are.
yeah.
yeah, and it's one of the reasons why I'm actually pursuing a history degree, because it is something that one of the issues that's lacking is obviously our narrative. Like, we don't have control of our narrative historically, politically, but in addition to that, we don't control many of the avenues in which we deliver our narratives, like media and things like that. So we have to be able to control our narrative, be truthful about it. Obviously, that's one difference that separates us Muslims from Zionists and other people, is that our narrative is not we're not controlling the narrative to be nefarious. We're controlling it to be truthful and
And
honest
just
with it, and
yeah,
to promote justice with it, and then to control the mediums through which those narratives are delivered. And this is why also I constantly talk about Al Jazeera and Middle East Eye and these kinds of um, networks, because they, to an extent, do that, but they're not. From If we're talking about in the West, we don't have any of that. We don't have any media or um, organizations or advertising or anything like that that's on a large scale. That's talking or telling our narrative. So we need more people in the field of politics who are not sellouts, obviously, because there are a lot of Muslims in politics, but unfortunately, most of them um, sell out. And then we need people in the history, both to tell our history accurately and to also give us pride in our history, because a lot of Muslims don't have enough pride in our history, and they don't also know it that well. So, and then there's other areas too, but yeah,
I mean,
generally
at the end
speaking,
of the
we
day,
have
no
more
matter
than enough
what,
doctors and engineers, is what I'm saying. We need
at,
other things now.
at the end of the day, no matter what a Muslim does, they have to be excellent at it. If you want to
Exactly.
be a historian, be a historian, but be the best historian you can be. If you want to be a plumber, but make sure that you're the best plumber.
Yeah.
Whatever you do,
I'll
it's got to be
I'll do what
excellent.
I can. I'll try my best. I'll do what I can, Ahmed. I can't.
Well, you're already the resident scholar, so we're all hoping you're doing the best you can.
I'm gonna be the best mediator ever.
That's basically what Joe Rogan does. So he did pretty well with it. He's got a big narrative, so you're in the right
Wow,
direction.
that was definitely very well said, Ismail and Ahmed. I think you really hit the nail on the head. I don't know if you guys have swayed my opinion on the subject matter, but I definitely did get your your take on it, and I do appreciate that. Um, Having said that, I think we're probably wrapped up for this one, unless you guys have anything else to add in.
All
No,
good.
I think that was a good conversation. Thank you
I
both.
Yes.
I think it was a very, very good conversation. So with that, we'd like to thank you for joining us on this podcast. If you enjoyed the episode or found something meaningful in our discussion, we'd appreciate if you'd share it. And please do follow. It is the month of Ramadan, so I will say please do take the best advantage of it as you can. I will just add a short story. We were at a Ramadan iftar a few years ago, and I had run into one of my friends, and I just casually approached him and said, "Hey, so, how's Ramadan treating you?" And he responded back to me. He said, "It's not so much that how Ramadan is treating me; it's how I'm treating Ramadan, right?" So Ramadan is really a guest for us. So the way we treat it, it's gonna affect us in this life and the next, inshallah. So please do whatever you can to, make your extra prayers, read the Quran, whether it's not, it doesn't have to be one juz every day. Read a page, read a couple lines, just be connected with it. So with that, we will bid you farewell. We look forward for you joining us again at the next guest house. Assalamu alaikum.